Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to talk about how it's very possible to be a multi-millionaire even in Chicago, and the third biggest city in the country, making minimum wage if needed. This is perfect if you make a lot more, because this just means you can be investing a bigger amount, which essentially leads to financial independence at a much quicker rate. The biggest question, and this was surprising to do the math, but the biggest question is it possible to be ahead making minimum wage in Chicago? Granted, I'm using calculations that I'm assuming that you live alone and you're taking care of just yourself, not your family. If you have a family involved with this could definitely be a little tighter, but it is still very possible. I kind of want to introduce that scenario of it's very possible to live cheap in a big city. Right away, we're going to start with rent. It could get very expensive in Chicago, but it could also be very cheap. If we're talking about one person, you could most definitely find a studio for no more than maybe $900. They could get very expensive. If you get sucked into the luxurious downtown lifestyle, your monthly rent bill for a studio could be in the couple thousands. But if we're talking about living frugally, if we're talking about living cheap, you can most definitely find a studio that's very comfortable. That also allows you to be a little tighter. You don't necessarily have to be living in Chicago, Illinois directly. You can be living a neighborhood or a city outside of Chicago, which could end up saving for something like a sales tax. Being Chicago is 10%, whereas a city outside of it could be 6%, things like that nature. So you're automatically already saving 4% for every sale that you swipe. So when you look for an apartment in Chicago, don't just search up apartments in Chicago, search up for Illinois, and then zoom in to the area around Chicago itself. When we're talking about rent, we got to mention things like the internet, water, sewer, heating, gas, all of that nature. For me, I average about $150 a month for kind of everything. It depends on whether it's cold or hot and what season we're in, but generally speaking, it could be maybe $60 for internet, $20 for water, sewer, $20 for heating, gas, maybe $30 for ComEd. So even with a $735 base rent, you could be looking at a $900 total cost for being in a studio. Granted, some of these apartments that you saw previously, utilities is included inside of them, which is great. So if you can find an apartment with, you pay $750, however, half of utilities come with that, you're automatically saving big time already. So what goes hand in hand in picking out an apartment is being able to find a place that's near public transportation. If you bring a car here, do note that it's going to potentially cost you money in order to just keep your car parked. Along with gas, things like that. A car ownership in Chicago could get very expensive. It's not quite necessary. I think public transportation in Chicago is really great, and you can most definitely get through public transportation, whether it's through the train or bus, for a relatively cheap price. One pass being somewhere around that $3 mark. However, if you get a yearly pass of unlimited rides, it'll only cost you about $105 a month. With a car, my recommendation is finding an apartment that's around public transportation. Right now, I'm a 10-minute walk from the train tracks and a 5-minute walk from the bus station. So for me, it makes absolutely zero sense to need a car because I have perfect public transportation that can take me anywhere I want in the city or even parts outside of it. Next comes entertainment. Entertainment can be a very tricky subject to talk about because it could completely depend. If you're making minimum wage and your goal is to be wealthy, then I'm going to be very honest and say you probably shouldn't be doing too much entertainment. If you're a student, or if you could find a sibling who is a student or things along that nature, you could do Spotify for $4.99 a month, which comes with free Hulu and Showtime. If you have friends or family that have Netflix, you can ask for their login, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's very okay if you know someone that's trusted that's using a platform that you want to watch TV on, sure, why not? But in entertainment, I'd be very careful to seeing where things go. I would say there's no problem budgeting a small part of your salary per year into finding that enjoyment spark in a big city, but I would be very careful. For example, when I first moved to Chicago, I didn't realize how expensive shots were, and when I was on a date, I paid one glass of a shot for me and the person I was with, and in total that was like $20 with a tip, because it's like $8 per shot plus tax. So in total, it was like $25. Living in a big city could get very, very, very challenging. If you're very quick to try and go out and spend money, there's many ways to do it at home. For example, instead of spending $25 on 2 shot glasses, you can buy a $15 big vodka bottle that'll last you many months for an endless amount of shots. Let's talk about food. There's a place here called Jewel Osco. It's pretty big in Chicago. It's pretty big in this kind of area. My recommendation is you can most likely get by with about $150 to $200 a month on food. You really shouldn't be going out too much. Again, very special occasions. Maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's Valentine's Day, things like that. I get it. But outside of that, I would be very cautious just freely going out, even every month. The whole point of this video is to show you how it's possible to make minimum wage and live frugally. This isn't about living life right now. This isn't about anything like that. We're here to live in a big city and still come out at the top. So with food, I called out Jewel because they have on food. I went to grocery shopping a couple days ago, and instead of spending the whole $40, they gave me $17 off because I used my phone number and there was coupons attached to the phone number right away that I added in there. So it takes me about 5 minutes a week to find coupons that they offer, and in return, it saves me 25 to 40% of what I would have paid. Great. So kind of let's go over what we have so far. So rent, we're paying about $900. Food, let's just say $155. Let's say you only got Spotify for $4.99. If you don't have any sort of student discount, it's $9.99. I'm not sure it comes with free Hulu or Showtime. So instead of Spotify, you prefer to go Hulu, then there you go. Hulu's also that, I think $8.99, something like that. You have transportation for $100 a month. This comes with an unlimited amount of pass. And I put out $150 for miscellaneous stuff. This could be your phone bill. This could be whatever. Just $150 a month. Maybe you want to spend more on food, maybe a little more on rent, etc. So in total, this comes out to about $1,300 a month. The minimum wage in Chicago is about $13.50 an hour. If you do that to the salary, it's about $28,000 a year. After tax, it's roughly $935 take home. 935 times 2 would be $1,870. So your take-home profit is about $1,870 a month. If we subtract that by what we talked about today, you're left with about $550 every single month that you could spend or you can invest. If you invest that $550 starting at nothing, right now you have no net worth and your average rate of return is what the market is, about 7%, you would be worth $280,000 in about 20 years. This is speaking that you don't get any raises, you don't move higher up in your position no matter what. You don't want to be working minimum wage for 20 years. Minimum wage should be there to get you started, to help you figure out what career you want that generates more income. It's crazy to think about that even if you are minimum wage for 20 years, if you follow this sort of guide, it's very possible to be able to contribute to your net worth and really make a hit and build a retirement account. So I do want to talk about now, how about the enjoyment part of life, right? In my opinion, if you're at the minimum wage phase, you probably shouldn't be enjoying life too much. Your goal should be really generating a form of income that lets you sit back and enjoy life a little bit. If you're making minimum wage, I would figure out what you need to be doing right now to kind of double your salary. What field are you interested in? What's your passion? What do you want to do? And go from there. Let's say you double your salary and now you have $1,000 to invest. If I do the same calculations, you're now worth $500,000 20 years from now. Take inflation to that, it might not be as much as it seems. However, it's the fact that it's still present that you are worth something even in that minimum wage category. That's it, right? So in this video, I just wanted to highlight that even the third largest city in the US, it's very possible to get ahead even in minimum wage. You just have to be very frugal. You have to be very safe. You have to be very minimalist with your spending. If you have a family, if you have a partner, things like that, you guys need to work together to kind of come up with a plan like this. It's very possible to live in Chicago for 10 to 20 grand. Thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. Comment below. If you live in Chicago, tell me how much you're spending a year, and I'll talk to you guys later.